I'm about to show you my $1 million hiring and onboarding process that has helped us place over 1,500 workers for over 700 businesses. Most businesses can't scale past 10,000 a month because they think they have a bad offer or bad marketing or low lead flow. But what if I told you the number one reason businesses stay stuck is that they don't know how to hire and onboard the right way? Here's the wild part. Most entrepreneurs don't even realize this is their biggest bottleneck. In fact, 97% of businesses have less than 20 employees, meaning most people watching this video are stuck in a cycle of doing everything themselves. Today, I'm going to break through that cycle. I'm pulling back the curtain and walking you through the exact hiring and onboarding system that we've refined to scale $1 million companies. If you haven't seen my videos, I'm the co-founder of Remote Latinos. Our mission is to help over 10,000 businesses scale profitably by hiring elite remote team members. Alrighty, let's dive in. So, how to hire and onboard like $1 million company. The first thing before you hire anybody is you want to identify the role and why you need it. So many people think they need one role, but they end up really needing another. A great example of that is a lot of people think they need a salesperson. They're like, I need more sales, I need a salesperson. But in reality, they're actually lacking leads. They're only having maybe 5 to 10 leads per week. And a closer, especially an A-player closer, would scoff at that and be like, there's no way you need a closer. You probably need either a lead manager, appointment setter, or a cold caller, or another way to generate appointments. Okay, so the first thing is you want to identify the role and why you need it, right? Define clear responsibilities. Okay, so here's an example. What would a lead manager do on a regular basis? Cold caller, acquisition manager, so on and so forth. And one of the best tools in the world is to use ChatGPT, right? And you want to create a very strong prompt. And by the way, guys, I'm going to reiterate this a lot throughout this call, how ChatGPT has been really influencing us to making decisions based on data, not emotion. Okay, so one of the things here is, what are you currently needing on a regular basis that you're currently missing? And let's create a role from this. Okay, so if you're lacking leads, you probably need either a cold caller or some sort of an appointment setter to go out and DM people or call the list that you have and schedule them. If you have a ton of leads, not hundreds, but thousands, tens of thousands, you're getting booked appointments, but you're having a conversion issue, then two things are happening here. Either you have a sales process that is off, or you have the wrong closer. Hopefully it's not you because you're selling your own product, your service, and you should know how to close for your own company. But if you have a closer and they're struggling and they're not closing at 20 to 30% at least, then you could have the wrong closer in place. Now, again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit here. So this is important because you want to identify what are your needs, right? What is this that you actually need? And this is very important is why? Why do you need this? Right? There's a lot of times we hire based on emotion and it's a gut feeling, and that should influence you on some sort. But if that is the only reason you're making a distinction of why you should hire someone, you're going to hire the wrong person, or you're going to hire you're going to hire the right person and put them in the wrong seat, or hire the right person and they're going to realize, holy crap, I should not be here. They need a lot of help. They have X and Y and Z problems. I'm not here to fix it. I don't want to build their business. Okay. This is very important because otherwise you're going to waste a lot of time. So understanding the why and then identifying the role. So we talked a little bit about this just now. Identify this by spending time on different tasks, right? What are you spending time on that you as a business owner should not spend time on? As a business owner, the most important thing, especially in the beginning phase, is to generate as much revenue as possible, as well as keeping your profits high. Now, the profit part, especially in the beginning, is important because you get to reinvest into your business. But more important is you want to build a real service/product, and you want to continuously generate more and more revenue so you're growing over time. And I learned this from one of our mentors. The only person and the only company you ever want to compare yourself to is yourself from a previous year. So I look at myself, April 6th, 2024. Where was I as a human being? And what was the company April 6th, 2024. And where are we now? Did we progress? Did we level up? Have we made the right decisions in order for us to be where we need to be? Okay, so this is very, very important. If you don't do this, again, you might hire the right person and put them in the wrong seat, and they might realize that they don't belong there. Okay, focusing on revenue generating activities. This is the most important part for new businesses. A lot of people spend time on websites and logos and all this stuff that's not going to help you generate revenue. When you generate revenue, whether it's online or in person, it tells you that, oh my gosh, I have a real product, especially when you fulfill, right? So let me take that back. When you sell something, it means that there's a need for it in the market. When you fulfill, it means that you have a real service. Okay, so when you sell something online specifically, okay, you have there's a market that would actually buy this. But now selling is just 50%. The other 50% is fulfilling on whatever the service or the product is. And if you're able to do that, guess what? Then you have something real. And then now it's how do you scale what you just did? All right, how do you scale it and what does it look like at scale? Exactly. So why identifying the role comes next? Obviously, because you want to figure out the person that you want to bring on. Otherwise, you're going to go a little bit crazy. Okay, so now we've identified the role. We know exactly what to do here. We looked at what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, right? So we identified the how, the what, and the why. And now it's about crafting a clear and effective job description. I cannot tell you guys how many people we have worked with or that go through our marketplace that don't have a job description. It's literally 1 or 2 sentences and it doesn't describe anything about their company. And I'm actually going to show you guys our job description here. So identifying clear job description, obviously, because now you've worked with ChatGPT, you've created your to-do list. We need to put this all together. Here's where people are messing up. Number one, they never talk about their company. Please talk and edify your company. Don't lie and don't over exaggerate, but they need to be sold on why they work with you, especially A players. Like if you're looking to hire someone that's good and can make a difference from day one and that you can delegate work to and you can trust, they need to be sold on your company just like you need to be sold on them. Right? If they're not sold on you or the company, big no. Okay. And part of company overview, it's also CEO overview. And I'll actually add this in here, plus CEO overview. And I'll actually show you guys what this looks like in just a minute. Headline to grab attention, be specific. Okay. So this is when you're actually putting the job ad and you want to make sure that it's attention driven. And I'll show you guys again what this looks like. Obviously reasonings, the day-to-day, so on and so forth. So we're actually going to go over this in just a minute. I want to crush this and explain to you guys what our job description looks like. Another thing is a mission, vision, core values. You guys are going to see exactly what our mission and vision is and how you can create something like this, for instance, as well as core values. These are just examples. These are not our core values, but they're really good core values. And then overall, we actually have created a video you guys can check out in this drive about how to create a job description and what do companies use and what does that look like? And this is something that we've learned from Hormozy and many other people. So you're going to talk about key responsibilities. You're going to talk about the day-to-day. You're going to talk about skills and experience. And just overall, you want to make sure that everything is clear. Your ultimate goal here is when they read this, they know this, they're either the exact fit or they do not want to apply at all. You don't want to have anybody that's on the fence that's like questioning them. I don't want someone that's like, I might be able to do this. Like you either got it or you don't got it. And if you don't got it, that's okay. There's other people that do got it. The worst thing is to hire that maybe, that I don't think, I think so. We love to say this in Remote Latinos. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Okay. So prefer qualities, KPIs, cold collar, all of this, compensation. You want to literally, like you guys can see, there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot in here, as well as a call to action. It depends on where you guys are posting this job description. Sometimes it'll be the call to action will already be on the website. Sometimes if you're doing this on Facebook groups, which we'll talk about, there needs to be some sort of a call to action, right? Key elements. You want to make sure with the CTA that it's very direct, it's right in their face, and it makes complete sense. And then ultimately, crafting a job description is incredibly important because this identifies you, your company, what you stand for, what's the mission, what's the vision, what's the role, what's the day-to-day, literally everything. Again, if I am not 100% sold on why I should work here, I should not apply. And if someone applies and there's like question marks about them and they didn't read job description, bro, I would never waste time with them. Ever. Okay, so these are some tips here to streamline the job description. By the way, clear responsibilities, include KPIs, outline compensation, highlight the mission, vision, core values, and end with a clear CTA. Again, that depends on where you are, where you're posting this. So let's go over what our CTA looks like. So I'm actually going to share my screen here. Well, keep sharing my screen and show you guys this. So guys, I'm not going to go through every single part of this, but what's important here, what's important here is that you guys get a chance to actually see what a job description of a $1 million, soon to be multi-million-dollar company looks like. So we have us. This is a pretty good picture. I would say if you have a picture of yourself, a professional picture, some of our team members here, you have the mission and vision of our company. You have a little bit about Remote Fam, Remote Latinos, because there is 2 brands, so it makes sense. And usually we explain this to them, but the company they're going to work for is Remote Latinos. Remote Fam is like one of our side products. Learn more about me, learn more about my co-founder. Then you have our core values here. Okay, so all 9 core values. We actually just updated our core values. So our next job description is going to have our brand new core values on here. We just updated them literally last week. Here's a job description. So this is a little bit about the role that we're looking to hire, what this job entails. So this is literally every single bullet point here. You have compensation, you have package, you have benefits, and then you have required skill as well on here. And then a do not apply if section. Okay, so this is an example. I have other examples as well, but this, if you guys can replicate something like this, it's great. Now, obviously, this is super well done. You guys can obviously see this. You can even have this on a Google Doc. You don't have to go super crazy. I have a whole graphic design team that helps me out. You don't have to do that. Just keep in mind, if I or my clients are doing this, and we do this for a lot of our clients, you're going to compete with people that are doing this versus people that are not doing this. You know what I mean? So you want to make it look as nice as possible. Maybe hire a graphic designer from Fiverr or Upwork, pay them like 10, 15 bucks to customize it, to make it look pretty. But even a Google Doc, for instance, which was I was going to show you guys, but I want to give you guys a little bit more clarity. But even a Google Doc would actually look fine, right? I think Google Doc, this might be like super zoomed in, so I don't know if it's going to give it justice, but this was created first on a Google Doc. It was like a rough draft, and then we created everything else. So you won't be able to see this here because everything's zoomed in, but we did this on a Google Doc, which means that you can also do this on a Google Doc. Okay, so if you are looking to hire, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this video, you want to create something like this. Again, we went above and beyond. We have a multi-million-dollar company, and both with our marketing company and our recruiting company, right? We're multi-million. And we do this because we attract specific type of people, right? If you do not do something like this, and imagine that you and I are posting on the same website, on the same platform, we offer the same exact compensation. Do you think someone that has a paragraph would attract more people than something like this detailed, right? And if they do, they probably attract a lot people that are a lot lazier, don't have time to go through it. I don't want that. I'm looking for A players. So maybe you'll attract more quantity people, sure, but quality and A players, incredibly unlikely. All right, so now we have the role, we have the job description. Now you want to choose the right platforms to source from. Okay, so this is a step-by-step guide. You want to, and I'm going to give you guys a few examples here. So one of them is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has been incredible for us. Fun fact, we actually didn't use LinkedIn as much in the first 2 years. And around 2023 and really 2024, we started using it a lot more, especially last year, and it blew us away. So in this doc, you guys get to see how the step-by-step looks like, from creating a company, posting a job, leveraging searches. You guys can get subscribed to a LinkedIn Navigator to actually help you with a lot of the messaging and without having to do a lot of the manual work, because a lot of this is manual, but it's free. Right, LinkedIn Navigator has a cost, and posting jobs on LinkedIn and posting anything on LinkedIn costs money. So if you want to do it the free way, you can do it, but it's going to take a lot more time. I don't recommend it. I do recommend paying something for LinkedIn, so that way it helps you again shortcut your way to success, engage your network, so on and so forth. Another one here is Facebook groups. So this has been very popular for us. I actually listed 3 Facebook groups that we love to hire from. This is probably one of the easier ones. The problem with Facebook is that there's a lot of fluff. I mean, I believe Facebook has 2 billion or so active daily users. I mean, how many of them are probably not a good fit for your company, but they're in these groups? So Facebook has a lot more quantity of people. However, we have hired a lot of people that are quality in these Facebook groups because most people resort to Facebook first. That's like one of their first options. So just be on the lookout. Make sure you're making an attractive job posting. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like something like this, right? Looking for cold caller. I would actually add also like the starting pay. So you guys can do something like starting pay from $1,000 to $2,000. So give them a range. Starting pay from $1,000 to $2,000 per month, right? Something like that. You want to always tell them like what does the what attracts them is the money, right? Not like, oh, cold calling and calling for these people and we have a great mission. Like at the end of the day, this is what people care about, and this needs to be there right in front of their face. All right, so and also include a call to action, right? Whether it's comment, DM, make sure that they do it. You should not be the one following up with them. You're offering them the job. They should be following up with you. They should be messaging you on Facebook. They should be finding your email. Like, look for the people that are going above and beyond. It's very easy to tell someone that's like really truly cares and wants to crush it for you guys, right? So you want to engage with them, search for candidates. If you have someone that can do this for you, incredible. Another platform that we love is Indeed. Indeed has been an absolute killer for us. A lot of people use Indeed just because the only thing Indeed you hire people from the U.S., but in reality, you can actually hire a lot of people from Latin America, from the Philippines, from South Africa. You would be surprised, right? The one I would say con with Indeed is that it's paid. Like there's nothing free here. You have to pay from the start, and sometimes you have to pay a little bit more. But I highly recommend it. It's very similar. Parts of it is very similar to LinkedIn where you're making the job. But again, you want to use the same frameworks that I have here, which is making a sexy headline or hook, quote unquote, for people to attract people. And then you want your job description, right, to vet out people. You want the actual process, which I'll talk about, to vet out the people because you don't want to take 30, 40 interviews. Realistically, like even for me, as I'm hiring right now, I interview 3, maybe 4, no more than 5 people. If I'm interviewing more than 5 people, my team is doing something wrong. And this is not just for me, this is for our clients as well. Whenever someone partners with us, my goal is for you to interview 3 to 4 and hire the perfect fit. Now, sometimes the 3 to 4 are not exactly what you're looking for. It is what it is, but majority of the time, 3 to 4 A players, they're rock stars. You interview 3 or 4 of them, and then you hire the perfect fit. Okay, so then you invite. So this is going to give you the guide by doing this. And then one of the last ones here is paid ads. So this is paid ads on Instagram and Facebook. I literally give you every single step that you need and how to create a Facebook ad. This has been a real game changer for us as well. All the steps are here. I don't want to go over all of this here because it's in here. You guys get this document, but also we have a lot more to cover. So you want to set your budget. You want to make sure you're creating everything that looks great. And if you've never done this before, there's a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to create an ad outside of the steps by step here. And one of the things I want to show you guys is actually example of our ads. Now ignore the fact that it looks a little bit crazy. I'm on dark screen mode, so everything looks a little bit insane. So we have people that look like vampires. But when you guys are using this and you're on regular mode on your document, you'll see that the regular colors. So you guys can literally take our ads and rip them apart. Like you guys can please use this. This is a real game changer. You're going to attract a lot of people and make sure that again, at the end of the day, this is marketing, right? So this is marketing 101. You want to have a good hook. You want to have a good video. If it's a good photo, it's a professional photo, and then give them information and also have the ad disqualify certain people. Again, you should not, when you're literally paying Instagram or Facebook, you don't want to have 1 million leads. You don't want to have a cost per lead that's like half a cent, unless they're qualified people, right? You want to have I would say, maybe 10 to 25 cents per lead, which is still insane if you think about it. Think about what $50 can do. But more importantly, that these are qualified people. That's really what I care about for you guys, so you can save time and actually go through that process. So, what to avoid here? So you want to avoid creating your audience, your broad too wide. You want to avoid, skip A/B testing. You want to avoid low quality images. You want to avoid, what I don't have on here is over promising. If you cannot afford $1,000 a month full time, that's okay. What can you afford? 600, 700. Whatever you cannot afford, do not put it in there. Okay, so here's the summary of everything we just talked about. You want to choose the right platform. I recommend using all of them. If you use all of them and you follow the steps that we have here and you actually do this right, you will hire the right person. The only negative part to this is how much time is it taking for you, right? Because this is why people partner up with Remote Latinos, because we do all of this for you. We present you 3 to 4 people, you interview and you hire. Right? Now, we might not be the right fit for you for whatever reason right now, but I'm just planting the seed because this is a lot of work and we're not even halfway through this document yet. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, this is the fun part. Pre-vetting candidates. All right. I've talked about this already. You don't want 1 million trillion people to apply with you. That is not the goal. You want people that are actually coming in with relevant experience and they are a match from the get-go in terms of their application. Okay, so these are some relevant questions to ask on the application process. I recommend creating a Google form. If you use high level, you can create a high level form, whatever form, for people to fill out the answers, fill out the questions with their answers, and then it triggers into your Slack or somewhere, maybe in an email with all the responses. Okay, and you'll see that number 1, a lot of people will not fill this out. Number 2, when they fill it out, it's not done right. And number 3, you can see when people are, either exaggerating, being lazy, so on and so forth. So you'll actually be able to disqualify a lot of people from this. This is something that we've learned. So there's some qualifying questions from this, what CRM you use and so on and so forth. Number 2, then there's scenario-based questions, right? Again, I want to think outside the box. I also want to make sure that they are aware of ChatGPT. I didn't say don't use ChatGPT. I actually would like ChatGPT, but I don't want it to only be ChatGPT. Here's what's cool about ChatGPT. You can tell when someone literally rips ChatGPT apart. Right? Like, for instance, I used a lot of this from ChatGPT, but a lot of this was also me sitting there and actually writing a lot of these steps because ChatGPT does not know every single thing about recruiting the way we have, because we've done this for 4.5, 5 years and ChatGPT is only 2 years old. Well, it's not why, but it's because we actually understand the marketing and recruiting aspect of this industry, and ChatGPT obviously has a lot of information, but some of it's not as relevant to your business. So scenario-based questions, You can also do some technical real estate questions or your industry based questions, so on and so forth. Another thing is obviously availability. Make sure that this person's available at your time zone that you want them to work. You might be hiring someone from the Philippines. They are already used to working graveyard shifts, so it's something that you should be open for. Work ethic, remote setup questions. Here's some more questions for you guys. How do they stay motivated? What is the strategy? Cultural fit, personality questions. All of this, like the more, I would say that if you guys can create a 15 to 20, even 25 question application, you're going to see a lot of people not doing this right. And that you want that. You don't want people to go through this process. This is why people pay us, because we have this. And we have this for multiple different roles, like literally 5 to 10 different roles that we have this. And very, very detailed. We've updated this many times. And ultimately, we get to see when someone is actually not legit, because it's also, the hard part is not the people that are lazy, they're not even gonna finish, but the fluff, the people that lie, the people that exaggerate, the people that are, they'll complete this, but I'm like, I don't know if they're the right fit, and we need to find out based on their questions and based on part 2. So this is where the resume part falls in. So you want to make sure that this person has a relevant resume. What I do is after this is done, after part 1 is done, the last 2 things they should submit is first is the resume, and then I'll tell you what the other part needs to be. So resume, obviously you look into their cold calling experience. You want to make sure they're not job hopping. They're not they have relevant experience, right? If you're looking for a cold caller and nowhere on the resume it says cold caller, but like, yeah, I can do it. Maybe, and cold calling is something that people can learn, but I'd much rather hire a cold caller that has, at least 1 year experience. Same thing with, client success or even sales, like at least 6 months to a year versus someone that has never done this at all and has to learn. Now, there are time and place where you want to take a chance on this type of person when they're really green and you're very new, like, and especially they're probably going to be pretty cheap, because someone that's really good is going to want to get paid more money. Someone that doesn't want to get paid as much money, probably not as good, but if they're hungry and they're potential and they're the right potential, they just seem like the right fit, you can take a chance on them, and guess what? You're saving yourself money, but you're going to have to spend. All right, technical difficulty there. So industry relevance, where were we here? So resume, we talked about you don't want them to jump job to job. You want to make sure they have a crystal clear resume. It's organized, it's neat, it's consistent. You want to see stability. If people keep moving from 6 months, every 3 to 6 months, new position, red flag immediately. What's going on here, right? And if I really like the person, I'm not going to overlook that. I'm going to call it out. Normally, I don't even interview them, but there are scenarios. Sometimes companies go under. Sometimes people, get overpromised from the candidates get overpromised with a job. They said, "Oh, you're gonna make this much money." So it's not always 100% on the candidate, but if there's consistent inconsistencies, that's a red flag, and you better call it out if you do decide to interview someone. Another thing is obviously attention to detail, making sure that everything is organized, everything is neat. I like everything in a chronological order. I look, especially for specific roles, I'm like, if this is a position that needs attention to detail, for instance, an executive assistant, my video editor, a graphic designer, and they're just like, it's a messy thing. It's probably going to be messy to work with. It's probably going to be messy to work with this person. Okay. So that's something to just, to consider as well. Grammatical errors. Please make sure they don't do any grammatical errors. We talked about some red flags here, employment gaps, right? If they, for instance, if they jump job to job, but what if they have like a 2-3 year gap where they didn't work? I would say even over a year. Actually, let me take it back. Over 3 months, I ask. If I see till June 2025, from January to June 2025, and then October 2025 to whatever. And I'm like, whoa, what happened here, right? So if there's a gap, maybe they traveled, maybe they want to take time away, maybe they had a kid, whatever the case is, you want to make sure that it gets called out. So everything that doesn't make sense to you or that you notice is off, call it out. This is, again, what we help with clients. I'm like, hey, take a look at this gap. This is why this person has this gap, just so you're aware. We already give them that information ahead of time, so they don't have to worry about this. But this is something that you guys need to do on your own. And then lastly, the pre-vetting candidates, it's the video, right? This is one of, if not the most important thing, especially for roles that are client facing, right? For example, if it's a video editor or an executive assistant and I don't need them to speak to clients, I don't care too much about how their video is. Like I want to make sure they have good English and it's, they understand me, but I don't need them to have like all this charisma and just like this perfect person, whatever. But if it's a salesperson, it's an account manager, it's someone that literally is talking with clients, especially on the phone, right? If that's on message, it doesn't matter too much, but on the phone or on video, number one, they need to look presentable. Number two, they better sound sharp. Number 3, they better have really good English, close to fluent. And with, I don't mind an accent, but not a crazy accent where it's hard to understand them. So these are some things that we're going to go over here. Why asking for the video is super important. And again, you're going to find out whether they're a good fit, especially for calling roles. And I just like to see the people because even remotely, I get to see them. One of the things that we have people do on this video is also share the screen, go to speedtest.net, and they actually show me their internet on the call right there and then. They have no idea it's coming, but I asked them for this. So if they can't do this for me, that's a red flag. And this is, I would say, is a pretty decent internet. The upload megabytes is pretty slow. It's pretty low. You want it to be around 40, 50, I would say, but this is doable. Like, they can take calls and they're not going to have to worry. A lot of people skip this and they're like, well, I didn't know they have internet issues. Here's how you found out they don't have internet issues. Okay. Remember, the video doesn't need to be long. I would say a couple minutes is pretty good. It doesn't need to be 30 seconds, but I would say no less than a minute to 2 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes is the sweet spot. That's what I like. And then it basically, you want them to follow a very specific guideline, right? Ask them about themselves. What is their position they're applying for? Why are they a good fit? What is the previous experience? Maybe talk a little bit about their past jobs that they worked in. What makes them different? What makes them stand out? What do they believe in themselves? Why are they so confident, right? And these are some things that you want to notice when you're actually reviewing the video. I've literally reviewed videos and I'm like, this person doesn't speak English. Or I review someone, I'm like, this person just looks bad, right? They didn't get a haircut. They did this from a closet. It was a choppy video. I'm like, that's crazy. If you do this to me to get a job, imagine what you're going to do here when you actually get the job. Things are not going to improve. They're probably going to get drastically worse because now you're getting paid to be a bum, not trying to be a dick. That's the reality. Okay. Like I mentioned, professionalism, how they dress professionally, how do they maintain good posture and contact, and a personality fit, right? The specific roles, I need someone to be enthusiastic, charismatic. Some roles I could give crap less if they have that at all. Right? Some roles, I need them to be very detailed and a little bit more, if I'm hiring a media buyer, I want to make sure that I don't mind if they're introverted or extroverted, that doesn't matter, but I want to make sure they have a lot of attention to detail. So their video needs to be needs to be good. Sometimes the video for an media buyer, for instance, it's actually longer because they're sharing the screen and they're going over specific ads and how they would change certain things, maybe some of the reviews or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's something super duper important. And here's how you can streamline this. You can have them submit a link with a Google Drive. Submit your Google Drive where they would upload the video, I would say. And then they submit this. Now, here's what's important, guys. Like I mentioned, you want to keep this short. You want to make sure that there's questions, they know what the answer is. So it's not like, okay, make a video by yourself. Like, give them a little bit of instructions and let them, brainstorm on the video. They have time to create the video. It's not like they have to do it right there and then. They might submit the job application. They might submit the resume, and then the video they'll do later in the night. Or they'll do everything together and then submit it, but they'll do the video when, maybe after work, maybe, when their kids are sleeping, whatever the case may be. Okay, so you want to have clear guidelines. Now, what I do and what we do is we have everything inside of high level. All our forms are high level, and it's literally the last step. So once they've completed the questions, they then submit the resume and then they submit the video. And that literally right there, majority of people don't even finish the questions. Then another portion don't have a good resume. Then another portion don't have a video, don't submit a video. Then another person don't have a good video, right? And then another person don't have a good resume. So we're disqualifying people on a regular basis. We're actually disqualifying more people than we're qualifying them, okay? Because there's a lot more fluff out there than actual legit A players. All right, so this is where we're at so far. Just a quick recap. We talked about, let me have the things here. So we talked about identifying the role. We talked about crafting a clear job description. Then we talked about choosing the platform, like kind of planting the seed of what platform you're going to go for. And then we went over the application process that you want them to submit. Okay. So now we're going to dive in to the testing. Okay. So before you interview anyone, you want to make sure that they do some sort of a test. Okay. I don't like to just interview people just to interview them. I want to make sure that they do a skill test and a personality test. Right? Now, the skill test has to be relevant. Don't just create some bullshit skill test with ChatGPT or something that has nothing to do with your job. It has to be relevant to the day-to-day of your company. And one of the things that I learned from Layla Hermosi, she said, create a skill test based on the last 30 days of the role. So for instance, if I'm hiring a cold caller, I would create a skill test around cold calling. I would maybe have them read a script and send me a brand new video, not just a regular video, not that video introduction they sent me, but another video of them reading the script and seeing how they adapt to that script. And if they have a lot of or they don't sound confident, or it's like, whatever the case may be. Okay, this is something you can also, if you're looking for someone that has experience in the niche, you can also do a real estate knowledge, right? It could be maybe about a CRM, maybe about real estate terminology, whatever the case may be. Could be task management, right? This is if you're hiring an executive assistant, someone that, how would they complete tasks, how would they prioritize tasks, whatever the case may be. And of course, like I mentioned, role specific testing, for instance, video editing or graphic designing, right? I'll give them a video. I'm not gonna give them a crazy long YouTube video that takes days to edit, but like maybe a 30-second video that I know will take them probably maybe 45 minutes to an hour to complete, and then I want to see how it's done, right? So something to note of here. Actually, one of my friends, he actually gave me really good advice on the testing. Is like it is something that we haven't done because as a recruiting company, it's hard for us to do. But if I was hiring internally, when I do, this is something that I'm gonna start doing. Is I'm gonna give someone a test with clear instructions. Almost like an expectation of what I need, but I want them to get creative. I'm not gonna give them literally everything, but I'm gonna give them clear instructions on the day-to-day. All right. Now, why is that relevant? Because I know how long the skill test should take. Okay, I know how long it's gonna take. So if they take way longer, probably not a good fit. If they take 30 minutes and they commit it really fast, probably also not a good fit. So I have in my head, a deadline. Let's say I give them a test, I'm gonna give them 24 hours. You know what, this test is a little bit more complex, more comprehensive. I'm gonna give them 48 hours, right? One thing to note of, you never want the skill test to be like 2, 3, 4 hours because now you're taking people's time. In reality, it should be an hour, maximum hour 15 for the entire, both the skill test and, which is next here, personality test. So we love the DISC assessment internally. We also use Big Five personality tests. There's I don't know if I put this in here, but PI index, that's another one, and 16 personalities. That's the other one we use, 16 personalities. So this is a good mix, right? So we have a personality test and a skill test. I will tell you guys right now, personality test, I like to find out about them, but I give it little to no relevance, to be honest with you, because something I learned is most of these personality tests, if you give a person that test in the morning, and then you wait a week and a half later and you let them do it in the evening after they went through a crazy week, they might have a completely different personality. Whereas skill test is a little bit more relevant. Yeah, they might do a little bit better job, sure. But ultimately, the skill test is more relevant than the personality test. I still care about the personality test. It's just not something that I've never not interviewed someone because their personality was off, to be honest with you. I've definitely interviewed people that their skill test was not good. Oh, I didn't interview. The skill test wasn't good. It was not organized. It was not detailed. It was completely wrong. Right? Those people I might not interview. So just keep that in mind. It might be, if you're looking for a specific type of personality and they're the complete opposite, it's just something to note of, right? Because you don't know when they took this test, were they distracted? What were they doing? How are they feeling the day? Like personality test has a lot of measures that should not take into consideration when at least interviewing the person. I'm not talking about hiring them, but at least just interviewing them. Just at times you could, not all the time, but at times you could overlook this. Okay, just keep that in mind. It's something that I learned from our 7- and 8-figure mentors. So how to score the test? So you can obviously have a point base. You could put it inside ChatGPT. We have a scorecard here you guys can actually use. And scoring personality assessments, actually, normally when they submit it, you'll ask them to submit it to your email. So that way you get the results and it'll actually tell you, and you can actually, again, submit it to ChatGPT based on the job description, based on the role, based on the day-to-day that I have for this role. Do you think that this matches this personality? And it'll literally tell you, right? I still do this all the freaking time. Okay, so leverage ChatGPT for every single step here. But also there needs to be some human connection and also something that you need to step in and so on and so forth. So should a candidate get a second chance? Again, I'm 50-50 on this. If they've tried, but the skill test was wrong, but you can see that they put time and effort into this, you have to ask yourself, how much training do you want to put into this person, right? And if you're willing to do it and they have potential, then sure. But if they just completely did it wrong and you don't have time to sit there and coach them and train and all this stuff, it's probably not a good fit. And definitely people that should not get a second chance are people that did not sit there and spend time on it, people that are, all over the place and just, you could tell they didn't do a good job, right? Like it's pretty obvious. Every person here and at some point went to school, whether it's private, public, or homeschool, when someone has a project to do, you can see the people that actually tried and you can see the people that did it last minute the night before, right? It's pretty obvious. So that's something to for sure consider. Obviously, why skill test personality, this is just another way of having a barrier to entry before interviewing with you. Now, something that I do and not something that a lot of our clients do is there's actually the testing is 2 parts. So we have a skill test 1, and then we either have them do another skill test or we have them do a personality test. It depends on the role. And this is after the interview. So we'll actually review the skill test, schedule the interview, and then we'll give them another test. Could be personality, could be skill test. It depends on the role, depends on the position. And then so they'll do 2 skill tests and then do another interview. And the interview is usually with another person. Internally, they're interviewing already with like 3 or 4 of our people. And then I'm the last interview. So by the time they come to me, they've done multiple skill tests, personality tests. If they've gotten interviewed by someone, I've gotten a lot of thumbs up. Now, thankfully, I have the leverage and power to do that. You might not. You might be a solo dolo. You might have one VA. You might have a small team, people that you don't trust doing the interview. No worries. You should still do multiple interviews, and I'm going to talk about that right now. So before we do that, we're actually going to select the top 5 candidates. So this is very important. You want to select top 5. Maybe even top 3. I would say top 3 to 5 at most. Because if you don't feel good about any of the top 5, you got to reselect, right? So if you do not have at the very least, 3 people that excite you, you're looking at the wrong pool of people. So bare minimum is 3. I would say maximum 5. That's the magic number that we found. That's the magic number that our clients have found. So that's something to consider. It's going to save you time, right? You're going to make decisions based on data, because you now have multiple people to choose from. This is why the number 3 is very important. If you do not feel excited by 3, let's say you have only 1 out of 5, well, you need 2 more. Okay, so you need to, however you feel about that one person or about the 2 people, you need to find at least 1 or 2 more in order to match this number. Now, some people like 10, some people like 15. God bless. The more, sometimes they say the more the merrier. I think with this, if you do this right and you follow this exact strategy, you don't really need to do this. Okay, so avoid falling in love with one candidate, especially based on their application process. You rank candidates. You can even do like a point differential of what you give them points on. You can have ChatGPT to help you, right? Maybe you do what I'd recommend is doing 2 parts. One where you do the rating, another one with ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is going to be purely data, purely what you told it, purely like logical. There's no emotion with ChatGPT. With you, might be a little bit more emotional. Personality is pretty cool. They seem like they have good real estate knowledge. And then you'll see if you and ChatGPT, I would say, are within 10 points of each other. So maybe you gave a score of 70 and ChatGPT gave a score of 80. And then you're right around it. Anything over 10 points, it's too much. That means that either you're off or ChatGPT is off. Okay? Just keep that in mind. And by the way, ChatGPT could be off because it's not perfect. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You might have the right rating over ChatGPT because part of hiring and part of dealing with people, there's an emotional effect of it. There's a gut feeling, right? And ChatGPT cannot help you there yet. Maybe in the future it will. So prioritizing, eliminating candidates, like I said, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a hell no, right? Something super duper important. Tips for streamlining this. So again, you want to use data, automate the shortlist. We use an applicant tracking system. You don't need to get that fancy, but having it maybe inside of your CRM, right? A lot of people actually create a CRM within the CRM, within high level, for instance. So they separate their leads for their business and their leads for hiring, especially if you're running ads, especially if you're getting a lot of different candidates, whether you're running ads or not. Clear scoring threshold, like I said, use ChatGPT and use yourself. Focus on core competencies, which is what you're truly looking for, and then review everything as you select. So now you've done this. Now we're going to conduct the first interview. So the first interview, I'm going to pretend that you guys are doing this by yourself and you don't have anybody else to help you with this, because usually you can just delegate this first interview, which is what I do. But let's say you don't have someone to delegate this, so you're going to take the first interview. Okay, so the first interview obviously is conducting. You want to evaluate soft skills like communication, problem solving, adaptability, right? And we actually have a bunch of different examples here of how to do this. But before you get into the questions, you want to introduce yourself. You want to tell them a little bit about what you're looking for. Almost like in a sales call, you set the expectation, right? We call this pre-framing. And tell them, your role in the company, what you're looking for, a little bit about the business, and then you dive in, right? This interview, this first one, is not too much about you, especially in the beginning part. In the beginning part, it will be a little bit later on. Okay, so you're gonna dive into the skills, experience, what they do, go over the resume. Literally, I would share my screen, go over the resume. I would go over, if you had a skill test and them doing a skill test, I would literally review the skill test, go over the scenario-based questions they answered on the application process, go over anything that excited you and anything that is a red flag, right? Like some things you need to get confirmation on and some things you need to call out because it didn't align with what you're looking for, or something doesn't really align there. Now we're gonna come back to cultural fit, because a lot of times I do this on the second interview, but you're able to do this also on the first interview. Maybe you can plant some seeds, for instance, asking them, how they receive feedback, what's the best way for them to communicate with other team members, what is the expectation in terms of getting communicated with, so on and so forth. Okay, so we actually have interview questions here that you can ask and follow that type of framework. So when to conduct, obviously, after you have someone go through this entire process. You guys see this is a lot. right? This is why people are partnering up with Remote Latinos, because we help you just get on the interview, just get on that first interview, and let us handle everything else. And again, scoring system. Okay, you can do communication skills. We literally have a scorecard that you guys can borrow as well for this specific reason. So I'm not sure if I put this in here, but I definitely have a scorecard that you guys can use if you would like. So why conducting first interviews next? Pretty obvious at this point. They've gone through the entire process. You've asking them their soft skills questions. Please remember this. So this is one of my favorite parts here is just the tips, right? So introducing yourself, talk about skill experience, scenario-based questions. We'll talk about cultural. You can plant seeds on cultural, but I like doing this on the second interview a little bit more. You can do also interview one more cultural, and then interview two more skill-based questions, so on and so forth. When to conduct it. This is something I'm going to touch base here, but usually I do this whenever this person went through this entire process, right? And then I evaluate through the scoring system that we have, and as well as running this through ChatGPT again. And the next steps is to book the next interview. If you feel pretty good about them, they've done everything, right? Like I said, you can give them another test to do. If you feel pretty good that they've done the skill test, you don't need to give them another skill test. Don't waste our time, right? If someone's already done everything perfect, you don't need to give them, oh, here's another thing. But if something is like not 100% there, the interview wasn't perfect, you have two options. You can either give them a skill test and then just jump into the interview, right? Especially if it's a skill error, or you just jump into the next interview. No matter what, you need to do 2 interviews. Now, as we go into the second interview, this is something very important. I conduct the second interview with the top people that made it through the first round. So maybe 3 people made it, maybe the second 2 people made it. Ideally, like 2 people making the second round, but at least 1 person, right? At least 1 person you feel really good about. You can do at least 1, right? But the second interview, you want to do, 2, 3. The first interview, you want to do at least 3, 4, up to 5, right? The second interview, you were able to do 1. I recommend doing 2 or 3. But again, if you love a person, if you love, love on the outside, don't fall in love with them, but love everything you saw from this person, they have the ability, potential, and everything else, then that's good for you to know, okay? Now, what I do with the second interview, this is very important, is I book it at a completely different time. So for instance, if I take an interview today, the first interview at 4 p.m., the next interview I'll do in the morning. I'll wait one or 2 days. I also want them to follow up with me. So I give them clear instructions after the first interview of what needs to happen, because I feel pretty good. I'm not here to drag this process on, but I want them to do 1 or 2 things for me. And usually that one thing, for sure, it's to follow up. It's to follow up. Now I do this both on the first interview and the second interview, because if you follow up, it means you care, right? That's why when I hear, oh my God, we're bad at follow up, I never follow up, it means like, dude, if you care, you'll follow up. If you don't care, you won't follow up. Pretty simple. So while conducting a second interview, obviously you've done the first, you feel pretty good about this person, you want to ask specific questions. So this is where you dive into things that you want to know that you didn't do from the previous interview. This is why this one I like to evaluate more about cultural questions and making sure that they're the right fit for the company and what the culture that I'm trying to build, right? And or questions that you didn't ask in the previous, right? So you can even explore like long term for this person, what that looks like. Again, go into different scenario based. You can even do a role play. A lot of people do that. That's totally fine. Maybe 10-15 minute role play, but definitely conducting a second interview, right? Decide which one you want to do on the skills interview and which one you want to do on this cultural interview. It doesn't really matter first or second. What matters is that both of them get done with each person that you feel really good about, and you score really good. So feeling is one thing because your gut is right, but also the score. What do you score this person? How's their communication? What are their skills? How is it relevant to your company? What are their goals? Whatever your scoring system is. Okay, so this is super duper important. Now, selecting and the right onboarding. So I'm excited to show you guys this because we have 2 parts for the onboarding, and then you guys will get these slides, and hopefully you learn 1 or 2 things here. So we actually do 2 onboardings, believe it or not. And I've thought about combining them, but I like doing 2 onboardings. I do back to back, by the way, so it's not a big deal. The first one is a company onboarding. So this is pretty simple. This is more about the company. We've already talked about this. A lot of this is on the job description. I probably mentioned this on the interview. But I want to reiterate. So the agenda we go over here is we go over about us, we go mission, vision, core values, communication, schedule, meet the team, EOD, all the stuff. So I'm going to run through this because I don't want to take another 45 minutes going through every single slide here. Here are some of my favorite things here. So I tell them a little bit about us. Obviously they already know, but I think it's good to hear again because they're not going to stop hearing about this. But this is one of the coolest things that I do. And I think a lot of people should to copy this. I learned this from my good friend and client, Mr. Iconic Becker. But this is something that I've done for the last year with every person that has hired someone from us, which is I ask for this person's dream. But before, I actually share with this candidate what my dream is. I go over exactly what my dream is, what my goals are, when I want to get there, and so on and so forth. And when the more I share, maybe it's vulnerable, maybe it's something that's very personal to me, the more they're able to share with me. Because what I don't want to hear, yeah, I want to buy a house and then travel. Like, I want them to really get detailed. Like, I want to travel to Japan, maybe live abroad for a little bit. I want to get married with my wife, have a family, and actually raise kids, and be able to provide them a really good schooling and whatever the case is. Like, I want them to get detailed. The more detailed you are with your dream, the more it's likely to happen, especially when you create action plans towards it, right? Then we go over a mission, core values. One of the things that we do, and we're going to redo this because, like I said, we're going to do new core values, is actually tell them what does each core value mean to us. So this is our previous core values, and then we go over what does proactive mean to you? What does integrity mean to you? What does Kaizen mean to you? So on and so forth. This is a little bit general in our offer, so they get to find out what we do and how we do it. Niches we work with, again, top affiliates, pretty general stuff. This is communication, very, very important. I actually sit and hampered this for a long time. I tell them about communication, guys, because if you're hiring a remote team and the communication is not clear, you're doing something wrong and you're going to absolutely get screwed. The number one issue, in my opinion, in the world, within relationships and within business, is miscommunication. It's misalignment. Someone is either putting a lot more than they're getting from other people. Right? It could be in a relationship, like I mentioned. It could be, look at the countries, look at how war started. It was a lot of miscommunication, right? A lot of communication, when it's done right, can save literally the world. So on this, I make sure that they download Slack because that's how we communicate with them. If you guys use Discord or other platforms, God bless, go for that. We exchange numbers right there. So I have them actually send me a text message, whether it's on iMessage or WhatsApp. We also have Facebook. Sometimes we get business for Facebook. So every single person in our company either uses their own Facebook now if they don't really use it, or they create a new one with a banner and everything else that's necessary for us to make sure that they have a proper Facebook. And then basically at that point, we have everything. But I regurgitate how important it is for communication. For instance, if they're not on a call, they have to respond to me within 15 minutes. If it's a weekend or a late night, they don't need to respond to me. If they're on a call or they're about to get on a call or they're busy working a project and I message them, they need to acknowledge me. Like maybe I ask them 3 or 4 questions and every question is, I need a detailed answer. Hey, I'm working on XYZ. Can I respond to you at the end of the day? Acknowledging it, right? The worst thing is to just leave someone ghosted and just be like, I don't know if this person wants to be here. And vice versa, maybe this person doesn't want to be here, right? So it's good to find that out early on. We go over schedule, whatever you guys' schedule is. We introduce them to the team. Usually we do this on a Friday. We have a bi-weekly Friday meeting and we have an introduction. And then I go over the end of day, week, and month report with them because it's something that they have to submit daily, weekly, or monthly. We show them what that looks like. I go over payment depending on what their payment is. We do bi-weekly payments and show them, usually we have our finance manager help set them up over there. Request a time off. What does that look like? So for us, this is something you guys should know. We don't give people time off their first 90 days. But month 4, they can start getting PTO. Now, PTO cannot get crazy hopefully in the beginning, but in the first year, so from month 4 to month 16, they have 10 days. So 2 business weeks off. Hopefully that we align with them beforehand, like, hey, I want to take off this time, and then this person is also going to take time off. Like, we align with them, make sure that it's good. They do get all U.S. holidays off. And if they have national holidays, planned vacations, travel, this is where I want to find out, hey, if you have anything planned. A lot of times people don't tell you this on the interview, on anything else, but they will tell you this here. Oh, by the way, I have a trip coming up actually in May for 4 days. I'm like, bitch, why didn't you tell me this before? Just kidding. But it's good to know that here. At least now I know ahead of time. And this is something that you guys want to find out on the interview, right? Like if you're preparing to hire someone, make sure that you know when they have certain days planned, especially, a lot of people that work remote, they take advantage of it. And God bless. I love it. I do the same thing. You know what I mean? So why would I not want them to do that? So once we're done with here, now we go into our role onboarding. So this is very, very specific. This is for the exact position. So this is not for all positions. The company is the same for everything. No, nothing changes here besides a couple things that are different. But the role onboarding is totally different because this is literally for the role. So for instance, here, this is for an executive assistant, right? We go over, again, just core values and just really regurgitate that in their face. When we did Peak Crew, now it's Maram, so it'll be different on the next video I'll make in the future. But we go over what success versus failure looks like for this role. Communication, I talk about communication again, right? I need to message you within 15. Acknowledge me. Okay, give me a thumbs up. Don't leave me ghosted. Don't just do this with me, but if you're an executive assistant, you're working with someone else on the team, please do the same thing. Don't just, because I'm the CEO, respond good to me. How you do it with me, you need to do it with everyone else. Now, there's other priorities, sure. Maybe I'm a CEO and I have very high level things I need you done. Someone else has a silly project you need to do, sure. But acknowledging them takes 2 seconds, right? It takes literally 2, maybe 3 seconds. So Talk about expectations here. Talk about first week must have. So this is where I kind of give them access to everything. I give them access to resources. We schedule meetings. We schedule one-on-ones. We schedule when to shadow, who to shadow. I add them to all the Slack channels. So not only they're in Slack now, but I add them to the channels they need to be relevant in, right? And then, of course, give them access to any softwares we use. So I spend the next 15, 20, 30 minutes making sure they're set up here and they're ready to go so they know what needs to happen right after this call. And they also have access to everything they need. And then I talked to them about KPI and PIP, right? So everything is on a KPI basis, right? And it'll change over the course of 9 days, maybe 60 days, 30 days. But everything here we're result driven. We want to make sure everything is on a result basis, right? Along with communication. So if you're a great if you're a horrible communicator, but you get results, at some point you're not going to be a good fit because that's not our culture, right? We might let it slide for a little bit because you're getting results. We're like, oh, he's getting results. But then it gets getting to a point where it's going to get toxic, right? Communication is literally everything. And that's where the PIP comes in. So before we fire anyone, unless they just don't show up or they do something super inappropriate or completely off the cuff, we fire them. But if they don't, then we put them on a performance improvement plan. We have a legitimate document that we cover and we create this with them and show them what does that look like. Normally we do it depends on the role, but it could be 30 to 60 days, up to even 90 days, right? The longer the PIP is, the longer I'm giving them leeway to make it happen. The shorter it is, I'm like, hey, you've done good on your PIP, so on and so forth. I personally don't like doing anything under a month. But I think the 1 to 2 months is the perfect framework to do this. Talk about conflict resolution. This is something that happens a lot, unfortunately, with remote workers, especially if you're hiring different people from different cultures, different ages, at different time zones, just different, right? It's very easy. If everybody's American, right? And even if they're American Indian, American Israeli, American Palestinian, and American freaking Russian, and they work in an office, conflict resolution is pretty easy at times. It's not perfect, but it's a lot easier because people are in person. But when someone is a different world, different parts, they grew up differently, they have different culture, they're different genders, conflict resolution needs to be very aligned. And this is something that we talk about because I plant the seeds like, hey, if you have X or Y problem, here's who you go to. Here's how you address this. Here's how you make sure, because if it comes to me, that means that you've tried everything at this point and you have no other option but to go into the CEO, and now I have to take a very drastic or dramatic, I wouldn't say dramatic, but drastic action, which could be putting someone on a PIP, maybe firing them, maybe moving them from one team to another team, whatever the case may be, right? So I want to share before I hear the things that they're able to resolve this with a team member or the leader or my operations manager. Because again, when it comes to me, we're at the worst case scenario at this point. And then final alignment, basically right after this, we've created a schedule. They know what they need to do. Usually after this, we give them trainings. It depends again on the position, right? Every position is going to be a little bit different. If it's a video editor, here's videos you can start editing. If it's an executive assistant, here's some project. If it's a cold caller, here's the script I want you to start reading and I want you to start practicing. Here's some videos I want you to watch on cold calling and listening to calls. And then let's set a date when you're going to start making your first call. They need to have a clear day-to-day report, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they're completing their EOD. If not today, depends on when you onboard this person, tomorrow at the latest, then they complete the first end of week report and then the first end of month report. So end of day, end of week, end of month, I want to align on this. EOD it's a checkout, right? It's normally about 5 to 10 questions about the day-to-day. What was accomplished? What needs to be tomorrow? What was good? What was bad? Certain thing. And it also goes over some of the health stuff. For instance, like, how's your energy? Did you get good sleep? Are you eating right? Like, I want to make sure people are holding themselves accountable. I'm not checking every single EOD, but my executive assistant and my operations managers do. And they keep in mind so they see someone with low energy consistently, hey, is this person burning out? Are they having personal issues? What's going on? Can we help? If not, and it has nothing to do with us, but it's affecting the business, then we should step in. If it's not affecting the business at all, and if they don't want our help, then it's not on my business. I want to help you, but if you don't want my help, it is what it is. EOW is a little bit more detailed, so it's similar to the EOD, except you're doing a whole week report of everything that has transpired this past week. What was accomplished, what was good, the bad. If you guys would like our EOD report, comment the word EOD and EOW in the comments, and I can send it to you guys. And this usually takes a little bit longer. It's usually EOW is about maybe 10 to 20 minutes to fill out. EOD is about 5 to 10 minutes. And then EOM, this is at the end of the month. So I only do this with people, the EOM, their first EOM and every EOM, if they start within the first week of the month. So if I was to hire someone tomorrow, they would do an EOM. If they start like April 17th, April 14th, I'm not doing an EOM with them because that's irrelevant. We're already talking every single day. They're shadowing me. They're shadowing someone from a team. We don't need to do it. The next month, they will do an EOM. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then obviously we've already talked about pay. We've already talked about everything that needs to be done. And then, make sure that they don't have any questions. I kind of just breeze through this, guys, but obviously I make sure they have questions. Oh, what do you mean by this? Oh, can I have access to this? Oh, this doesn't make sense. Oh, do I need to download this? Da, da, da. I just align with them and then, make sure that they understand. We make decisions based on data, not emotion. And sometimes, a lot of times, I made emotional decisions and it has at times helped and a lot of times it hurt. So making decisions based on data is the most important part. So guys, this is how to, so this is literally my step-by-step on how to hire and onboard like $1 million company. You're going to get a copy of this so you guys have every single step, and you're going to get the onboarding processes as well. I hope this helps. I hope you guys crush it. I will say this right now. There's a lot here you guys can see because ultimately it is a lot. If this was easy, everybody would do it and everybody would do it right. But this seems like a lot to you and you don't want to go through this whole process and you just want to hire someone that's good, that can make a difference from day one. This is exactly what we do at Remote Latinos. So if you feel like this could potentially help you and this is something that sounds pretty good, head over to remotelatinos.com. Fill out the quick form we have, schedule a call with our team, and let's see if we are a good match for you. And ultimately align with you and learn more about your business, learn more about the hiring needs that you have, and ultimately make this a win-win position. So guys, I'm your block. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with anybody that needs to hire. Us.